I like to say and think that the best version of me is going to be the best version for my kids. So, whether that's in terms of food, health, fitness, mental health, or taking some time to myself, you have to shift your perspective from thinking this is selfish to this is actually selfless because I'm making myself into the best version that I can be so that I can show up for my kids in the best way possible.
Are you done with being that pregnant or postpartum mom in the gym who is always stuck on the sidelines feeling horrible, saying, "How come no one ever told me this?" Are you ready to finally say no to a mom life filled with excess weight, injury, overwhelm, and fatigue? Then help is here. Welcome to the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast, where we dive deep into the information you need to be the strongest woman in and out of the gym, even if you are a mom. If you are done going through your pregnancy or postpartum fitness journey clueless and unprepared, if you are ready to commit and say yes to being that badass fit mom who is shredded and stronger than before the baby, well, listen up. Because this is where we talk about all of the things your doctor or trainer never told you about, so that you can achieve the body you want and take your athletic strength and performance to the next level. Get ready, because here's your host, Daisy Bravo.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast. And I am your host, Daisy Bravo, here with another cool episode. And this episode is a little bit different than our usual content. We are talking always about fitness and nutrition. We're talking about women's health issues. We're talking with our body from our inside to the out. We're talking about kids and family, but today we're actually talking about financial health and why that's so important, how we can get started to budget better, save better, but still allow ourselves to do the things that we want, the things that we enjoy, the things that make us happy, all without feeling that sort of guilt. And I have got Megan Barrett on the show today with us, and she has this amazing training that helps women get started with budgeting and financing and just getting that whole area of life straightened out so that you can do those things that you love, but cut out some of the unnecessary expenses. She is amazing. Without further ado, I'm going to talk a little bit about Megan and then jump right into my conversation. Megan lives on her mini farm in Washington State, a little bit jealous, with her husband and her girls. She is passionate about helping women make progress towards their goals and coming up with simple solutions that help women everywhere eliminate financial stress and allow these women to love life. She loves connecting with other women, hearing their stories. So I really want you guys to stick around, listen to this episode with Megan. We really get into some details about really easy, simple ways to budget and save. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Megan, thank you so much for coming on the Strong Moms Fitness Podcast today. I am so excited to have you on the show. And most of my guests that I have on the show talk about physical, mental, and emotional health and wellness. And I'm really excited to have you on the show to talk about financial wellness and financial health. And I would love for you to share with the ladies listening your story, how you came to be the expert that helps women with budgeting, saving, and still giving yourself that money in the pocket to buy things that you want. Were you always good at saving and budgeting yourself, or did you have to learn this the hard way?
Yeah, I definitely was not always a budgeter. It happened by necessity, honestly. Back when my husband and I were first married, we just approached our finances, cross your fingers and hope it all works out at the end of the month. And then I wanted to quit my job and stay home with my kids when I got pregnant. So we really take a look at our finances much closer and actually pay attention a little bit more to what was going in, what was going out. And Was it going to actually all work out how we wanted it to work? Yeah, that's when I started budgeting several years ago now. And I have always loved numbers though. So I've always been a maths spreadsheets girl. So I've loved that. But yeah, I got into budgeting back when a few years ago. And ever since then, I've been evolving different ways of how to do things and finding ways to not cut everything out of our budget that we like, because it's not a very fun and enjoyable way to live.
Awesome. I love that. Now, one of the main reasons I was excited to have you on the show is because as moms, new moms, or moms to be, we almost start to gain this guilt of spending money on ourselves. Like before kids, perhaps we wouldn't think twice about buying a nice pair of boots or getting our hair done or buying something like a gym membership. But as soon as kids arrive, moms often fall into the trap of putting themselves last when it comes to money in particularly. Uh, when it comes to my business, I have a few different programs and I do some free workout challenges. And when I ask moms if they want to keep working out with me, if they want to do one of my programs, and one of the biggest hesitations women have about joining my fitness programs always comes down to money. And they say they're serious about fitness, they want to keep healthy long term for their kids. And the challenge that they did with me made such a difference in such a short time. But then they end up saying they really just shouldn't be spending right now because kids' soccer practice or kids need new shoes or just money is tight in general at the moment. How do you help women find themselves in this situation where you feel like you have to say no to yourself because the needs of your kids are more important? You tend to prioritize a different way and maybe put yourself last. Why is it that it's easy to cut out things from spending like for yourself, for me, but it's impossible to cut out the need for the kids? How do you help your clients deal with that and prioritize in that way?
Yeah. So inside the membership program that I have, we go through this process of setting some goals and then creating a budget based on your priorities, which I think is missing from a lot of budgeting courses or programs or books. I feel like at the end of the day, if you don't take into account your priorities, you end up with a budget that may not actually get you where you're trying to go. It just may work for someone else. But I feel like as moms, it's just so easy to think we don't have needs or our needs are less than our kids. So I definitely see that too. I like to say and think that the best version of me is going to be the best version for my kids. So whether that's in terms of food, health, fitness, mental health, or taking some time to myself, you have to shift your perspective from thinking this is selfish to this is actually selfless, because I'm making myself into the best version that I can be so that I can show up for my kids in the best way possible.
Cool. I love that reframe. That's super important. And I guess it might take some mental work to reframe that and retrain that. I'm sure that's maybe some underlying guilt or other issues behind that. So I really appreciate you saying that. Now, to me, budgeting often seems like it could be a sacrifice, like you have to miss out on certain things because you're adhering to a budget. Is there a way to reframe that and stop having budget feel like a sacrifice that kind of gives me that sense of FOMO where I'm maybe missing out on a trip because I'm adhering to a budget?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to figuring out what your goals are in terms of your money, thinking about working towards a specific goal with your savings or your extra money, and then creating that budget based on your priorities. So it takes a little bit of inner work, I think, figuring out why am I buying this? Am I buying this just because someone else is buying it and I don't want to miss out? Or am I buying it because it's really going to bring me joy and make me feel really great? So I think you really have to think through why you're buying the things you want to buy. I don't believe budgeting should feel like a sacrifice. I think as when you have those savings goals that you're working towards, and then you create your budget based on your priorities, it's so much easier if you need to cut in a certain area that you can do that in a way that you're working towards your goal and not that you're moving away from spending money however you were thinking you might spend it. I do think having a goal is like absolutely essential when it comes to making a budget, because then you're working towards whatever it is, maybe a vacation, or you want to buy a house, or you want to enroll in a fitness program. You have these goals and then you can adjust your day-to-day spending so that you're getting where you're trying to go.
Cool. I love that. Now, you had mentioned goals and prioritizing. So you have a membership and you have a program that you offer for women. Do you have a step system or pillars that women, you did say prioritizing and goals, like what is the journey or path that you bring women through as they work on budgeting and saving?
Yeah, so we have a 3-step system. The first is just setting a goal. So you think through everything you might want to save for or work towards financially, and then you pick one to start. And then the second step is to build that budget based on your priorities. So we have lots of spreadsheets and really fun automated things in there to just make it as simple as possible. But it's like a personalized budget based on your own wants and needs, and just your own lifestyle. And then the third piece is making it automated. So just making sure you don't have to like mentally think about your money day to day, and making it just more streamlined so that all these things can be happening in the background. You don't have to think about them nearly as much as a lot of people are doing right now. Just like, do I have enough money for this? Just that constant day-to-day mental work is just really stressful.
Cool. I love that. That's awesome. Sounds like that's something that's kind of like doable, sustainable, and something that's not going to, overwhelm or drive you crazy, make you feel like you're giving up a lot or sacrificing. So I really like that. And I'm sure you have a lot of these that you hear. What are some of the myths around budgeting and saving that you hear from, clients or just people in general?
Yeah, I hear people think that they have to just totally stop spending like across the board if they want to start saving more money, which I don't believe that's true. I think you can really use those priorities like we talked about. I also hear the myth that you have to be making more money in order to save more money, which that one it's interesting. We hear a lot of the make $1 million in your sleep or something. You hear all those things, or you see those advertisements online. And for that one, I feel like until you can make sure you got your spending aligned with your priorities and your goals, then making more money isn't actually going to help. So you really have to get that piece nailed down. Yeah, those are the big ones. And then the other one that I don't hear a lot, but I see people doing it a lot, is just what I used to do, that cross your fingers and just trust it's all going to work out. And not like setting that real like specific savings goal, because it's easy to do. It's easy to just say, oh, I've got enough money. And then you go about your day and your week and your year. And then in a few years, you're wondering why you're not any closer to your goals that you were, thinking you might be closer to.
That's hilarious. Yeah, there's just so many myths out there. So glad you're able to, squash a couple of them, because there is so much, misinformation about money. Do you find that maybe because your mom said money doesn't grow on trees or something like that, that you carry that through adulthood? Is there something to that theory?
Yeah, I definitely think money is a loaded topic, right? Like whether your parents talked about money all the time or whether they just never talked about it, I feel like we have these beliefs or just mindset things about money as we grow up. We may not even realize they're there until you're out on your own, and then you have your own money, and then some of them might come up depending on how deep down you want to be digging and figure out why do I think about this in this way. But I think some people think that they're like, they're doomed or something, like, oh, I was never taught this and my parents were bad with money. So, that's how I'm always going to be. But I definitely disagree with that. And I think that what matters is the decisions that we make. So we can decide today, I'm going to change how I'm going to act. Like it doesn't have to be the exact same as my sister or my parents or whoever, and then just decide to take steps towards the direction you want to be going. But yeah, I definitely think the kind of that like money baggage, whatever it is, it can be there. and it can be a big hurdle to overcome, but I definitely wouldn't say that it's impossible.
Awesome. Now, this is kind of me. I'm really guilty of this. I'll start on a budget, and especially with business. I'm like, okay, here is what I'm going to allot for my expenses this month. And there's something maybe unexpected that happens, or maybe there's holiday or something, and then you get out of whack, you fall off the wagon per se. You've got these large unexpected expenses that come up. How do you stick to a budget like month in and month out? How do you anticipate some of these like unexpected events and account for that? And should we account? Obvious, I guess we should account for those.
Yeah, good question. When I teach people how to make a budget, we start with looking at how much you've been spending and start there, because I think that's a really good indicator of how much you may be spending in the future. But you start there, and then you think about what are those like monthly or like quarterly or annual big payments that are going to come out, and you can build those into your budget so that it's not, oh, we have our property tax payment due this month and we didn't really remember that one. So really trying to think through to some of those bigger payments that are once a year or even like quarterly, and building those in. But then I also really like to have a category that's like unexpected expenses because there's always those things that come up, right? And they're not necessarily things that you can predict or even things that you can put off. If your car just breaks down, it's what are we going to do about this? I definitely like to have that little buffer in there. And then if you contribute towards that every month, then you'll just have it there and it won't detract from whatever savings goal you're working towards. And you won't be scrambling like to find a credit card to put it on or whatever that default is for you. But yeah, definitely making sure you think through like ahead of time what may come up, like those predictable things, but then also just having a category that's like all those things that are going to come up, but that you can't quite predict.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Now, here's an interesting question. A lot of times when you're married and whatever your income is, and you're not on the same page of how you both want to spend or invest your money, when working with women, especially some women that maybe their income is their spouses, maybe they stay at home, they're not making their own money, is there some sort of way that you help women work together with their spouse? If maybe do you each have your allowances of fun money for yourselves? Like, how do you help keep the peace in households when some spouses want to have different goals and things when it comes to finances?
Yeah, I think finances can be problematic in a marriage. I feel like it's just an area where it's easy to just disagree, especially if you have if one of you is a saver and one of you is a spender, and you have those different like defaults. So, but I definitely think communication has to be at the heart of like any money conversations. I don't really promote a certain way of managing your money within your marriage. I feel like you really have to figure out what works for you. My husband and I, we just pool all of our money together. And then we each have like a little personal fund, like here each month we get this and we can spend it however we want, and the rest we talk about it if it's like a bigger expense and decide if it fits inside of our goals. But I know some people who like in the program that I'm doing who they have like totally separate money, so they don't really share any of it, or maybe they only pool like those joint expenses. So I think you can do it in any of the ways, whatever's going to work best for you. But it depends on whether you're on the same page about how you want to be spending it. And I definitely think I would encourage anyone who is struggling with like money with their spouse to try to come up with a joint goal, as like a family goal that you want to work towards with your money, so that anytime there's a disagreement about, do we spend this much on cable or do you spend this much on clothes, like whatever that disagreement is on a month to month basis, you can fall back on that overall big goal and decide, okay, is it worth spending this much money, or should we put it towards this goal? And then it feels more like a partnership where you're working towards something together and less of like one person telling the other one, you can't spend that, and just getting into those kinds of arguments.
I like that. Yeah, especially there have been days that I've waited at the, bottom of the street to intervene the UPS guy so that my husband wouldn't see what I purchased. So I wouldn't have to have that conversation. So I really like how you talk about working on a common goal together. And yeah, it's great if whatever works for you or just having your own subset of guilt-free money to spend is always a relief. So if you can figure out a way to work that in, because it doesn't always work if you hide at the bottom of the street waiting for the UPS man. UPS
Yeah.
man, if you've bought something that you don't want your husband to see. What about the show? It's old. I love that. So on your social media, you talk about spending holes. And I want you to explain what exactly spending holes are, and then what are some ways that we can patch these holes up?
Yeah, I like to think of spending holes like just like a bucket with holes, right? If you go to fill up a bucket and you go to water your plants, but there's no water in the bucket when you get there, you can either think, oh, I just needed more water in the bucket, or you can look closely at the bucket and realize, oh, whoops, there's a big hole. And no matter how much money you put in, it's just all going to be draining out. If you think about that, like with your bank account, a lot of times we sign up for things and we may not remember we've signed up for them. And so we just have money that's like going out. But if you're not paying attention to like your money and your bank account and your credit cards, you may not realize how much money is just spilling out the bottom without even, without you like thinking about it or realizing it. So whether that's different like subscriptions you sign up for, or just spending, like automatic spending that just gets taken out, or I don't know, so many different ways. Or it could also just be that you spend, like every time you walk into Target, you spend $60 when you go in for a $5 thing. So it could be like more just habits that you have that where money's just spilling out the bottom when it's not like a conscious decision. So to patch those, I would definitely say it's important. First, you have to figure out where they're at, right? You have to figure out what's the money that's going out that I didn't necessarily want to go out. And then working through that process of, okay, is this a priority for me? Is this not? And then just bringing it to that conscious level of, do I want to be spending this money? If it's more of a habit thing, then it's about switching some of those habit cues. So if every time you walk into Target, you walk past the clothing and then you walk, if it's like about when you walk through the store, maybe you walk a different way and you try to break that habit of always buying whatever it is. We all have our own weaknesses, but yeah, definitely identifying those habits and then, yeah, really trying to shift how we think about them and then bringing it all back to, is this aligned with my priorities and my goals?
I like that. Thank you. I really appreciate you chatting more about that. Now, do you advocate, especially when looking for the holes, you may need to do this long term, do you really advocate people checking their balance on their banks like every single, almost like getting on a scale every day to weigh yourself? Is that productive for us to go in and see what's going in, what's going out like every single day? Or do you maybe recommend we do this maybe monthly? How do you, what do you think is the way to keep our sanity while still keeping an eye on our money?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say checking your bank account every day would be the best use of your time or even like your mental energy, because the more time you're just thinking about that bank account balance, and that's like less time that you have to think about the things you probably want to be thinking about. So I really think if you can find like a good budgeting app where you can write out your budget inside the app, if you prefer pen and paper, that's fine. I think it just takes a little more mental energy. So if you can find a good app where it just loads in your transactions and then either like once a week or once a month, it probably depends how you're doing with your budgeting. If you're brand new to budgeting, I would say probably once a week you go in and you make sure you're on track with your budget and how you decided you wanted to spend your money. If you've been doing it for a while, you may not need to do it every week, and maybe once a month is fine, so that you can just make sure, yep, I'm on track, or whoops, I went a little bit off there, I need to readjust. So yeah, definitely working it in. But I do not think it needs to be a daily thing, because I think that just adds way more stress than it needs to. And then it becomes just, yeah, then money isn't like fun and it's not something that you're enjoying and your budgeting is becoming a pain. And then, yeah, I think it's good to have some breaks between when you look at your bank account or your budget or however you decide to do it.
Sure, yeah. So let's say someone's getting started, they've gone through and they found their holes and they've got their priorities straight. How can we start to shift from like not spending or reducing our spending to actually starting to save money? Is there kind of a smart way to do that? Is there a way to, slowly do it? Like, how do you walk your clients through starting a regimen of saving?
Yeah, I like to build it in right at the beginning. So once you have that goal of what you're saving towards, you can decide, do I have this money right now? Like maybe you want to save $500 a month, but it's going to take a little bit of adjusting. Like maybe you want to start with like $100 a month. And then a couple months later, you can up that and keep working towards that goal. But I definitely think it's good practice to start with some amount of savings and then continue to adjust as you're able or as needed. I don't think you should start like if you're not saving anything and you're living like paycheck to paycheck. I don't think you need to try to start saving like half your paycheck because that's unrealistic. So I definitely think starting with goals that are really attainable and that will build that money confidence. So after a month, if you say, oh, wow, I stuck to my budget and I was able to save this much money, like that's such a big like motivator and a confidence booster of, wow, I was able to do this. Yeah, I definitely would recommend adding in at least some savings to begin with, and then adjusting based on your situation, based on your goals and like the timeline that you've set for when you want to get there.
Cool. I love that. And earlier you had mentioned pillars or the journey that you walk your clients through. And you mentioned automation. And I was really intrigued on how we can start to make this automatic. How do you work through that with your clients and make it so that your money doesn't take up too much time for you, that it doesn't start taking over your life?
Yeah, to me, there's a few different pieces to the automating. Um, like you can automate your savings to go from like one account to another so that it's not like accessible. I've talked to some people who prefer to have their savings like at a totally different bank, like across town where they can't even access it because it's just easier to not be tempted by it. But finding some way to have that automatic transfer so that you're not the one who has to go in and be like, okay, I need to move this money over and then I need to move this money here. Because again, that's just taking up that mental space that you probably don't want to be spending on the computer checking your balances. And then I think the biggest piece that you can automate is like those expenses. So like I was saying, if you can find a budgeting app or website or something that you feel like it works well for you, there's so many out there. But if you can find one and just enter your budget in, then like your transactions are linked in there, it won't take very much time at all. So that's like a huge piece that will reduce so much of the time that you might spend like scrolling back through the transactions and trying to think, oh wait, like did I already spend that much money this month? Or just trying to remember that. I feel like that takes so much of the weight off just having a good app there. But also just things like setting a reminder on your phone to check in with your budget or check in with your bank account so that you don't have to think about it every day, but you decide how frequent you want to do it. And then you set that reminder so that it's out of your head in the day to day. You're going to be reminded when you need to do it.
Cool. Awesome. Now, I am very intrigued with investing, and some months I, don't have too much money to invest. Um, do you, get women started on investing, even if the budget is small? Is that something that we should look to earlier than later, per se, when we have more to put away?
With investing, the earlier you start, the better off you're going to be, right? Because investing is like, there's a few different kinds of investing. The investing that we personally do is like long-term investing. I know there's some people that do more short-term stuff, but I don't do that. I'm not familiar with it. But the long-term stuff, you definitely want the money to be in that investment account as long as possible so that it can benefit you the most later. We don't really talk about this much in the membership program, but it's one of those things that if you have a retirement goal, or some goal like that's farther off in the distance, maybe that maybe you decide you set your savings towards, maybe it goes into your 401k or whatever investing account you have. And then that's up to you if that's how you want to put your savings towards, or if you want to use it for something else.
Cool. Awesome. So to me, like, my biggest chunk of money goes to food, and I don't eat out much, and I only buy organic food, and I avoid like processed and packaged foods, but I still find that spend so much money on food. Do you have any like top tips to cutting down that grocery bill? I know a lot of moms struggle with that. They like, even if you go to Costco and you're like, I just spent like $500 on what? On a big thing of mayo or something like that. Like, how do you get started with cutting down that grocery bill?
Yeah, I think it's a progression. You really have to figure out where you're at now. And then, like you said, you don't eat out much. So, if a lot of people do eat out a lot, so that's like a huge expense in your food budget. So, if you're eating out a ton, try to find ways to eat out less. Maybe do meal planning, some meal prep. If you're already like cooking a lot at home, then you look to the next thing. So for our family, what we do is we just cook a lot of things from scratch. So I think that saves a ton of money, meaning like salad dressing. If you buy a bottle of salad dressing at the store, it's $4 or $5, when you could make the same thing for $1 with stuff that you already have. And then it has fewer preservatives and all that stuff that you may be trying to avoid. So just making a lot of stuff from in your own kitchen with stuff that you already have, I think is a huge money saver when it comes to food. We love to buy in bulk. That doesn't mean like you go buy 50 pounds of whatever at Costco necessarily. I guess that's one way to buy in bulk. But what I mean is like the bulk bins. Like if you can find a grocery store with the bulk bins, a lot of times the unit price there per pound is going to be cheaper than if you, like for almonds, if you can find almonds, they're maybe a couple dollars cheaper per pound than if you buy them like in a container or a bag or something. Another huge saver, if you do cook a lot at home, would be to buy spices in bulk, which is just, if you can find a store that has spices, you can like refill your spice containers for a quarter, or you can buy a whole new spice container with the new bottle for $4 or something. So that's like we do that a lot because we cook a lot at home. There's so many different ways. It depends on what you're already buying. I love food and I love cooking. I know there are ways that you can get a really low budget on your food, but a lot of times that means you're sacrificing a lot of nutrients. So that's not totally what I like to do. It depends on your priorities, I think, but I assume most of your listeners have a good high priority of food because they're into fitness, and food is what fuels you. Yeah, I think it's a balance, like looking at the ingredient list and deciding, is it worth it to spend less money on this, or is it worth it just to view it more as an investment, as something that will fuel you for the long haul?
Sure. And have you looked into any of those grocery like online sites or like co-ops and things like that? Do those end up actually being more cost effective, or do you just end up paying like a monthly charge and then you get sucked into another subscription? Have you had any luck with any of those?
I think it takes some discipline, because I think some of them, maybe you pay like an annual fee and maybe you get a discount, but you still have to like stick to things you normally would buy, right? If you just start buying more than normal, then it's not going to actually balance out and you're not going to be saving any more money. So I'm a big fan of meal planning, and then making your grocery list based on your meal plan and then sticking to it, whether you're shopping online or whether you're shopping in the store, just like actually sticking with your list. Because a lot of the times what we get tripped up with is you walk into the store, maybe you're hungry and maybe you have a list, but then you're like, oh, that looks really good. We should get some of that. Or, oh, I think we need some of that. Just like those last minute things, at least for me, that's how I usually get over what I was expecting to spend in the grocery store.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, my biggest struggle with meal planning is, let's say I pick out 4 or 5 meals to plan for the week. However, it calls for only a tablespoon of one ingredient. And although the item when I go and buy at the store is like a 2-pound bag. So I'm like, okay, I'm not really saving money here. I'm using it once on like this recipe here. Do you have any tips for that? Is that where the bulk comes in handy? Because I'm like, I can't rationalize doing that. Or do I substitute with something I have in the house?
Yeah, I think either of those. So you could definitely do the bulk bins if you have that as an option. But if it's something you think you might use later on, I think you could buy it depending on what it is. A lot of things you can freeze for later, like even if it's like a big can of tomato paste or something, you can freeze that in an ice cube tray or something for later if you think you would use it. If it's something you don't think you would ever use except for this one recipe, I would definitely recommend find a substitution. There's almost anything you can substitute for, especially if it's just like a tablespoon. You can either just leave it out completely or Google, what can I substitute for this in this recipe? That's what I usually do. And usually you can find 5 or 10 different things that maybe you would be more likely to have one of those, or just leave it out completely. Usually one ingredient, unless it's the main ingredient, but usually one ingredient doesn't like make or break a meal, right?
Cool. Awesome. I love that. Now, do you have any tips, any sort of frugal tips that you've learned throughout your journey here, especially running a household? And you did mention bulk bins. Do you have any more things like that, that maybe even when it comes to clothes or cleaning supplies, other household items, any ways that we can save a buck or two?
Yeah. So cleaning supplies, we like to just use vinegar and baking soda for basically everything. You can get like huge amounts at Costco and they clean just as well, if not better, than some of the bottles of stuff you have to buy for, I don't know how much it is now. We don't buy them, but you can clean. It's amazing how well baking soda and vinegar can clean like a bathroom and make it look really nice. And those are things like you can use in the kitchen. And so I love like repurposing different things around the house and like for cleaning and cooking. Kids clothes, we're big fans of like secondhand stuff. So there's like online secondhand stores. There's like kids consignment stores that we do for like clothing. We don't like a ton of stuff around the house, which is good for the budget because it's really easy for me because I feel like we have enough toys and everything around already. It's easy for me to just be like, no, we don't need that. We don't need that. And I feel like it really helps the kids actually develop. They can use their imagination with their blocks and whatever else they have. They don't need every single toy out there. But yeah, definitely. I think our food budget is something that we focus on a lot. And a lot of that is just like we make sauces at home. We make salad dressings at home. You can make your own like spice blends at home. Anyway, so just a lot of repurposing, figuring out how you can make it like with your own ingredients. Because a lot of the times, whether it's food or something else, you're paying for someone else to package it up for you. And then like you're paying in a little bit extra. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I appreciate all those tips, and I really liked hearing how that we can start budgeting and saving, but still have some money for the things that we want and need. And I know that's probably like the scariest part about budgeting is we feel like we're going to miss out. We won't be able to do this or that. So I really appreciate that because every now and again, we're human. We're going to want something or feel like we need something. And to not feel guilty for that is super important. And we definitely don't want to teach our kids to have guilt around money and finances. So I really appreciate that. Now, I want you to plug yourself. Like, how do we find you online? How do we stalk you on Instagram? Give a shout out about, I know you talked a little bit about your membership. If you could talk maybe a little bit about that or how we can get more into your world. I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, thanks. So I actually have 2 different places you can find me online. I started out in the online world doing recipes and food and meal planning stuff. So it's scratchtobasics.com. You can find recipes and meal planning stuff and tips and meal prep and all that fun stuff. And then at breakfreefinances.com, social media is all of those. Social media for Scratch to Basics is just Scratch to Basics. Social media for Break Free Finances is Break Free Finances. So just across the board. But yeah, the membership is really fun because I talked about the 3 pillars that we walk through those steps, but then there's also like a support component to it. So there's like monthly calls, and then there's a Facebook group where like you can be with like-minded women who are working towards goals. Because I know a lot of time you're influenced so much by the people around you with how you're spending your money, and just to have that encouraging circle of women around you is just so powerful. So yeah, I have a free training you can go watch, and that kind of walks you through some of the things I talked about today, some different mistakes I see people making with budgeting, and then walks you through the whole system. I call it the Savvy Saver system, and then the community is called Savvy Savers. And then you can decide if this is something that you want to work towards or if the program will work for you, and then you'll have the chance to join there.
Cool. Oh, I love it. That sounds really exciting. I know a lot of us could use help in that department, and it's always something that we don't talk about, or it's not brought to the forefront until it gets a little bit ugly. So I really love your philosophies, and I'm really glad that you came on the show today. Like I said, we talk about mental fitness, we talk about physical fitness, but really we can't forget that financial fitness component in our lives. It really just seals the deal. So I really appreciate you taking the time today to come and chat with us. I'm really excited to see what's happening for you in the future, and I'm really excited about your membership there. So hopefully our ladies will get a chance to check out your training, and it just sounds like you're just expanding on what we talked about today. So super cool. Thank you so much, Megan, for joining me on the Strong Moms Fitness podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
All righty, guys. So awesome chatting with Megan today. We can all learn something about budgeting and saving. So I really hope that you have some takeaways from today's chat with Megan. As always, I'm going to put all links in the show notes, and I will link to the training that she mentioned, and I am looking forward to enjoying the training myself. I haven't had a chance yet to go and watch, but I'm going to jump on that also. It looks like it just goes even deeper than what we were talking about today. Go to my website, strongmomsfitness.com/podcast, and check that out. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on the Strong Moms Fitness podcast.
Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Strong Moms Fitness podcast. Now remember, go subscribe so that you are the first to know as soon as new episodes drop. Also, be sure you don't miss out on your chance to win a free program of your choice from Strong Moms Fitness. All you have to do is leave a 5-star review. Screenshot it before you submit and send it to Daisy at strongmomsfitness.com. Your review helps other people find our show. And as a thank you, once a month we choose the review that makes us all warm and tingly inside and award that lucky lady a free program of their choice. So do it now. It could be you. See you next time, you badass mom, you.